There we go. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to class number 8. It's good to see everybody. And today is our final teaching, but it doesn't mean that you're done by any stretch. In fact, if anything, to me, in some respects, it's just the beginning, right? So my hope and prayer is that by going through this class, you've learned a few things and you're going to apply a few things because, again, knowledge without embodiment is called entertainment. And while there's a part of me that appreciates you being entertained, there's a bigger part. Bite your tongue. There's a bigger part of me that hopes for you that you actually embody the stuff that we talked about. So we're going to be talking about that tonight, and we're also going to be talking about something that Karina started talking about last week, and that's why I told her to wait a minute because it was the question of like, hey, why isn't this working? And so we're going to have a little bit of a fun time with that tonight, and we're going to talk about that a lot, actually, pretty much the entire class. So, anyways, having said that, I'm going to just dive in right away because I think going through that process I'm thinking about is going to take a little bit of time. So I hope you're all well. Is there anybody that has just a deep desire for anything that they want to share, or if they had a question? Because if you do, I want you to be able to share it, number one, or if you've got a question, I want you to be able to ask the question before we dive in. So I just want to open up the floor for either A, I want to share this, or B, I've got a question. No? Okay.
I got some.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just good that we're talking. I might have to leave a little bit earlier today, but I was thinking this morning, what is the reason why there is not a manifestation happening? It's just like dragging on. And in the past, I just laid in bed this morning, contemplated, and I did not get an answer. I always get an answer. It's just like, okay, well, maybe I just, not think about it anymore. I don't know. I'm glad we'll talk about it today, but it's just been, if you know my story, it would leave some people speechless. So
Yeah, I appreciate that, and yeah, I understand at times it can be extremely difficult. Yeah. So I hear you, and I just want to honor you and your journey and all of the ups and downs with all of it. So I appreciate that. And we'll talk about it. So there we go. All right. Well, having said that, again, I always like to start off with a little bit of a review. So I'm just going to share my screen with you and forgot that I went all the way up to there. So anyways, just a quick review of last week. Remember what last week was? We talked about surrender. We talked about this idea that surrender is as important as any of the other one of the steps. We talked about one of the last things that you need to do is learn how to surrender your goal to spirit. And then we also said just because you surrender your goal doesn't mean that you quit focusing on it. Actually, just the opposite is true, that we create a plan of still focusing on your goals that will help you to continue to send energy and let the universe know you're still allowing the goal to flow to you. And not only did we do that, but then we also finished and completed our goal setting process. So we went through the 9 different steps of the goal setting process that we all shared. Okay, so that's what we did last week. For anybody who didn't have a chance to join us or didn't have a chance to watch the replay, that's kind of what we covered on the call last week, right? And so this week, what I want to spend a little bit of time on is going back to, surrender over to spirit. There we go. I want to talk about, I want to go back to the beginning. Oh, and stay focused. I didn't pop all those up there. All right, so I want to go back to the beginning of my story when we first started this whole entire thing. If you remember right, and I called this class If I Only Knew Then. And so, but if I go back to the beginning, if you remember right, I was telling you the story about me being somewhere around 19 years old. I went in for a job interview. Somebody handed me the book Think and Grow Rich. I went home and read it in about 2 or 3 hours. And I said, oh my God, this book is going to change my life. And I was determined to become a millionaire by the time I was 25, absolutely convinced that this was going to be the thing that was going to do it. And it didn't. And it was during that story that I also said, why didn't this thing work, right? And I think my life journey, as I really contemplated doing this class and contemplated sharing everything that I've learned since then, I came up with a few thoughts. And it's like, okay, why didn't it work? And then what I want to share with you today is this thought, if I only knew then. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you a bunch of thoughts on why, for me, and my understanding now is, and where I kind of got off the track, so to speak, and what did that look like for me. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to pull out a piece of paper, and I want you to, for every single one of these statements I'm going to make, I want you to write this down, not the statement, because there's going to be too many of them, although I guess you could do a screenshot or something if you really wanted to. But I'm going to send this to you anyway, so you don't have to write these down. You're going to get them. But what I want you to do is, as I'm going through, and by the way, there's going to be 25 of these things, I want you to, on a scale of 1 to 4, I want you to grade yourself on where you're at right now when I mention each one of these things. And while this isn't an exhaustive list, it's pretty good in terms of the things that, I did where I felt like I got off track. And if I only knew then what I know now, how I'm doing things differently now. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit teaching, a little bit interactive, and again, for every single one of these things that I mentioned to you, I want you to go ahead and put a score of 1 through 4. 1, hardly ever, this is not really me, and a 4 would be, oh my God, this happens all the time. Okay. All right. So having said that, here we go. All right. First of all, so I didn't have a complete idea on how manifesting works. And certainly back when I was 19, I didn't. And I really feel that up until just recently, I feel like I was still not totally complete on exactly how it works, but now I'm feeling like I do pretty much. So again, I just want you to go, on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being, I don't have a clue on how it works, and 4 being, no, I really do know how it works. Okay, so 1, I don't know, I don't know either, and 4 would be, no, I do know. So scale 1 to 4, and again, just take whatever your gut tells you. Is everybody clear on that? All right, nobody is on screen, and I'm not sure if it's because that's the way I've got my camera right now, but I can't see anybody. So can somebody, there you go. Can you just give me a thumbs up?
It's working.
Okay, it's working. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, thank you. I don't necessarily need to see you, but I wanted to make sure. So thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And Lynn and Karina, thank you for doing that. All right, so 1 through 4. So the next one. So I didn't have a complete idea on how manifesting works. Number 2, I was inconsistent with my goal setting efforts. In other words, I would kind of do them and then I kind of wouldn't. And then I would kind of do them and then I kind of wouldn't. And then I would kind of do them and I kind of wouldn't. So 1 means, nah, I wasn't very good at it. 4 means, no, man, I was a rock star. I do them all the time. So again, it's just an evaluation, 1 through 4. All right, next one. And if anybody has any questions on this, hi, Lynn, we are just doing an evaluation. I don't know if you heard, but scale of 1 you're just 1 through 4. 1 means that I wasn't very good at doing these questions that I'm throwing out there, and 4 means no, I'm really good at it. Actually, I'm really good at it. So for example, I wasn't really I was inconsistent with my goals. So if you weren't very good at being consistent with your goals, you give yourself a 1. If you are really consistent with setting your goal, you do a 4. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these things. These are things that I found I got tripped up on as I look back. Okay. All right, the next one, I would often give up on my goals. So in other words, I'd set them, I'd be all excited about them, but then all of a sudden I would hit a hard spot and I would just give up. So again, 1 would be, yep, I wasn't very good at that, or 4, no, man, I would crush it. Okay. So I give up on my goals. The next one, this was a good one. I resisted what was happening in my life instead of accepting it. In other words, I just refused to want to look at what was really happening and accept it, and I just resisted it. So there was a lot of resistance, lots of resistance. Okay. And again, if anybody's got any questions or comments, please slow me down. Oh, this is a big one. My happiness depended on my goal manifesting. My happiness depended on my goal manifesting. So the problem with that that I learned was that it made it awfully hard to be happy in the meantime. And my suggestion is be happy. Be happy until your goal gets here. And yes, it'll come. And that's the whole concept behind the idea of enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Okay. All right. The next one. Lack of focus. I was going in too many directions, often distracting myself. So in other words, I wasn't focused on my goals, and I was kind of like squirrel. Like, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And I would be going in about 17 different directions. So there was a lack of focus, way too many directions, and often I was distracting myself. I used that as a way to distract myself. It was a form of self-sabotage, if you will. I spent more time focused on my problem versus focusing on my solution. More time focused on my problem versus focusing on a solution. Okay. I had no plan on what I needed to do to accomplish my goals. And when I say that, I had none, in a very unhealthy way. I know in this course we talked about don't worry about that when you first get started. So yes, I did say that. And yes, it seems like it's a paradox. I agree with you. But I mean, I was like, when I said I'm going to make $25 million, I just sat there, it just overwhelmed me. I'm like, yeah, right. How am I going to do that when I don't have a dime to my name, right? And it just overwhelmed me. So I had no plan. I had absolutely no plan whatsoever on accomplishing my goals. And as a result of that, it would shut me down. And that's when I would start to give up on my goals, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. How am I going to become a millionaire? Okay. All right. Everybody good? And again, if you've got questions or you're not 100% sure, but you should be keeping track of your score. All right, here we go. I didn't pick specific goals. I was too vague at times. I want to be happy. Stuff like that. It wasn't really specific. I didn't do SMART goals, is a good way to put it, which we've gone through earlier in the course. So I didn't get specific with my goals. I would just be very, lackluster with the way that I would set them. They were really sloppy, is the best way for me to put it. Okay. I can't read that one. Hold on. I got to move everybody. There we go. This thing drives me crazy the way it does this.
I had esteem and ignored it.
Yep. So in other words, I wasn't honest where I was with myself. And I had low self-esteem. And it really, really had a major impact on my life. and I just wasn't willing to admit it. Okay. And again, some of these may not apply to you, and that's okay too. So I don't expect these to be fours on every single one of these for everybody, but these were my list as I went back and looked at these and was honest with myself. All right. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. All right. I didn't realize how sloppy and negative my mindset was. I had a really poor mindset, really poor mindset. Okay. Yeah, this was a huge one. And now I really realize how bad I was at this. I didn't value myself, my time, my boundaries, and my goals like I do now. So now every single one of these things are just hugely important to me. And because I didn't value those, and I would say the beginning of that statement is because of the fact I didn't value myself, nobody else did either. And nobody else respected my time, my boundaries, and my goals. Now, I'm using that as a general term. It doesn't mean that my friends and the people that cared for me didn't, but as a general rule of thumb, there was a lot of people in my life who did not. And that was because I didn't. And as a result of it, there were things that happened and I got myself in situations that weren't really good, period. Whether it was a job that I was making peanuts in, or I was in some pretty lousy relationships. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go again. I wasn't honest with myself about my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions. So again, I didn't want to be honest about what was going on with those. Total honesty, absolute 100% honesty with what's going on. All right. I never slowed down enough to listen to my inner guidance. Or I should say I rarely slowed down enough to listen to my inner guidance. Not like I do now. Now virtually it's something I do almost every single, well, I do it in the morning for sure, all the time. And I often do it during the day now as well. It's kind of like I feel like I've got my radar on and always paying attention to what is trying to get my attention or telling me to pay attention to. So, yeah. I spent very little time in self-reflection. Very little time. And now I would say somewhere within, as I've shared with many of you, I spend the first hour to an hour and a half, more than likely, in the morning doing something. And I would say probably 20 to 30 minutes of it is self-reflection. Where before I didn't want to, because I didn't want to be honest with myself. I didn't want to look at what was going on. And so I spent very little time in self-reflection. I didn't take enough focused and consistent action. So for the goals that we want to achieve, we're going to have to take action. We're going to have to do something. And I found myself, I didn't take enough action, focused and consistent. Sure, would I do things? Yeah. But it was so little that there was and it was so inconsistent that I never built any momentum. And that's the key with these manifestations and doing things that you want to get done, is it takes some momentum. And that's where the focused and consistent action came in. All right, let's see. I didn't review my goals on a regular basis. So again, this comes back to I was kind of inconsistent with my goals. I would set them and then play with them for a while, and then I would forget them and I wouldn't review them. And I'm going to show you in a minute what I do now. And there's no comparison. There's no comparison whatsoever. Okay. I didn't use any form of prayer other than beseeching or begging. So that was the only thing I would do. Please, God, please, 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 God. I can laugh now, but it wasn't a lot of fun to be in those positions. I will tell you that if you've ever been there, I'm with you. I've been there in some really, really hard times. Really hard times. Like, please take this away from me. It's too much. I can't do this. I cannot do this. All right, just a few more. Oh, this is really, really important. I didn't identify or go deep enough into my own limited beliefs. So even if I would find one and start to do the work on it, what I didn't understand, and I almost wanted to create a slide for this, I just didn't have the time to do it. But what I'm understanding now is when we first start identifying our limited beliefs, more than likely those are just like a level 1 kind of a thing. And the more I play with this stuff, the more that I realize that there's probably 3 or 4 levels deep that we go. I don't know how many levels there are. Sometimes there's deeper levels. There are times when there's not, but I often find that after you go through the first round of limited beliefs, and let's say you have 3 or 4 or 5 limited beliefs about something, and you identify them, then all of a sudden there might be other limited beliefs. So I found for myself that I didn't go deep enough into my own limited beliefs. When I was really stuck, that I didn't go any further. And as a result of it, I really wasn't able to break through and change certain habits or patterns that I had in order to make a difference. Okay, so I didn't go deep enough into my own beliefs, my own limited beliefs. All right, I didn't ask for or get help or support. So I was kind of like solo on this. So I didn't go and talk to anybody. I didn't get any additional help or support. Okay. All right. We just got a few more left. This is great. I know we talked about it, but we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I would spiritually bypass it at times. What does that mean? It means that I would completely ignore the way I was feeling. And as I like to call it, I would put lipstick on a pig and walk around with a big smile on my face. How's everything going, Mike? Oh, it's great. It's great. Oh, life is great, right? Everything is roses and I'm happy and everything is grand. And the truth was I was miserable. And the reason I was miserable is because I was ignoring what was going on inside of myself, because I was supposed to look a certain way and act a certain way. And as a result of it, I was pretty miserable. I was really miserable, actually. So I would bypass at times. I would use magical thinking to ignore reality. So again, sometimes, well, I'm just going to sprinkle fairy dust on this thing and it's going to go away, and not deal with reality. Instead of, no, I need to take action. I need to do something here. I'm in situations that require me to do something. And I would just completely ignore it. So to me, spiritually bypassing and the using magical thinking to ignore reality they kind of go hand in hand. They certainly can go hand in hand. All right, this is a really good one. I had a hard time letting go of past failures. And I'm going to follow that one up with, I saw failure as something to be avoided no matter what. So to me, failing was death. And when I failed in my life, it was really hard for me to acknowledge that. Like, I just didn't even want to talk about it. I didn't want to go into it. I didn't want to accept it because it was so painful to me to have to acknowledge that it was a failure. And I define failure as death. Like, you can't fail. And it was an extremely unhealthy way of defining failure. And so I saw failure as something to be avoided no matter what. And so as a result, guess what happened? When it came to me wanting to take chances that were healthy chances in order for me to grow or do something different in my life, when I really wanted to grow or do something different in my life, I wouldn't do it. And I wouldn't do it because, to me, if I failed, I didn't want to feel that because it was so painful to me because of earlier experiences, right? And I think this is my last one. I had a strong inner critic. So in other words, I always had a part of me that no matter what I did, it was never good enough. Never. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what I was able to accomplish. There was a part of me, my inner critic, who would not back off. All right, so that is, I'm going to stop share. So that is my list. And what I hope that you have done is I hope you've kept score. So if you did this right, you should have 25 numbers. And what I want you to do is I want you to add up your totals. Take a minute and add up your totals. So again, you should have 25 numbers there. If anybody needs me to go back and look at a particular question or figure something else out, let me know. But it should be, you should have 25 numbers there. And what I want you to do is I want you to go add up those 25 numbers and come up with your score.
Question, Mike.
Yep.
I kind of came in after you started. So one was, I kind of just got I wrote down true and false because I forgot the way the scoring went. So one was you don't agree with the statement at all.
Well, no, one is I wasn't really very good at it. Like whatever the thing was that I did, you could go like, yeah, I wasn't really good at that either. 4 was, no, I was amazing at it. Like I was really like, I did the opposite of what you did, Mike. So 1 is like, I wasn't very good at it. And 4 was like, oh, I was actually, this was no problem. So that's really what it is. I didn't describe that really great, but that's kind of what it is. It was like, regarding this particular issue, either, you know, I wasn't really good at it, or B, no, I did a really, really good job with that one.
Mike, can you put the last 5 or whatever
Yeah.
pile has the last 5 questions on there?
No worries. Yeah. Hold on. There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And just so you know, what I'm trying to do here is give you some indication. And again, I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough or not, but what I wanted to do is have you be able to look at the score out of 100 and go, so where am I? Where am I in terms of, you know, in terms of my own goal setting, in terms of my own manifesting? You know, where do I come in at? And the closer you are to, and I didn't really grade these things, I'm not going to do that to you, but I think it would be really, really fun to have everybody, we've got 5 people in the group. I thought it would be really fun to break you into 2 little groups and have everybody just kind of say, hey, this is my score. And this is what going through that list of things makes me think. Like, this is, I think, you know, going through this list of things, was there anything that really caught your attention? Like, I'm just looking at the last ones, right? So like, oh my God, my inner critic is out of control. It's just like my inner critic will not ever leave me alone. I just really, really struggle with my inner critic, or whatever it is. I mean, there could be, and like I said, just so everybody is aware, I don't want you to panic. You're going to get this list that I'm going to give you. But to me, these are all the things that I went through when I look back and I think, well, where did I really struggle? These are the things that I struggled with. And I'm just trying to bring this out and share this with you, because these may be things you struggle with. They may be things you don't struggle with. There may be things that you have on your list that I don't have on mine, but I thought this was a really good exercise for me to go through. And I would even encourage you to take a look at it in terms of your goal setting and your manifesting, in terms of, you know, what do you think, if you struggle with it, what do you think causes you to struggle? And so again, you had 25 questions. Each one got a score of 1 to 4. You know, and what I'm going to do is I want to break you into, there's 5 of us, so I'll create 2 groups, 1 of 3 and 1 of 4, or 1 of, there's math for you, right? 1 of 2 and 1 of 3. And then I'll give you, let's say 5-10 minutes roughly or so. And then everybody just shares, here's what my score is. And going through this, what I realize about where I'm at right now in my own goal setting and stuff, going through this list, this is what it feels like. Okay. So having said that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, there's actually 7 of us. So let me see. Do math, Mike. Do I do 4 and 3, or do I do 3, 4, 4 and 3? You're holding up 4 fingers, Scott. What is that? Okay. How about we do 2, 2, and 2, 2, and 3? How's that? Is that good? 2, 2, and 3, or do you want to do 2, 2, and 3? Okay, so I'm getting people go 2, 2, and 3. All right, so I'm going to attempt to do some breakout rooms right now. So give me just a minute. So we're going to create 3 breakout rooms, and I'm going to assign them automatically. So I'm just going to do that automatically. And so what's going to happen is, I think it's going to go 2, 2, and 3. Yeah, that's it. It's going to go 2 to 3 participants per room. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to say, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So you'll each get a couple of minutes to share. And then, and I'll call you all back when we're ready. If you finish up before I call you back, just come back to the main room. Okay, is everybody clear? So again, what are you going to do? You each going to get a couple of minutes just to talk. Hey, this is what my score was. This is some of the areas that when I went through the list that I thought were maybe areas I could work on, or this is where I really struggle, or no, this is what I really feel good on, whatever. It's just, hey, just awareness in terms of where you're at in terms of your own goal setting and manifesting. Okay. All right. So,
Hey, Mike, before we break out,
yep.
whip through those questions or whip through those bullet points again.
Okay.
Like, there's 25 of them. I don't have them all in my head. I don't need to have them all in my head, but I thought maybe it would benefit us.
Yeah, no worries.
Just a quick look.
Yeah, yep.
Not
yep,
a long
yep.
look, just a quick look.
Yep. Got it. All right. So we can do that. So let me go back. So here's the second 10. I see everybody's eyes are scrolling. Can I go to the first 10, or do you want me to leave that there for a second?
No, go to the first 10. It really meant this for somebody just to be able to capture one
Okay.
or two.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
had something.
Okay. Cool. All right. There we go. All right. So I'm going to stop share. And now we're going to go into our breakout rooms, and I'm going to create 3 breakouts. It's going to sign automatically. I'm going to create, and now here we go. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes.
Mike, are we? I don't know what happened. I'm in the car right now. I got thrown out.
Hold on, let me, you and Erica hold on just a second. So I'm going to assign to room 3. There we go. I just
Okay,
assigned you to room
sure.
3. Mm.
And so she does laps,
I'm sorry, go
and
ahead.
then she does meditations during her like swimming laps. And she's like, why don't you do that while you're at the gym? I'm like, oh, like when I'm by myself, I'm like, I could do that, right? I could, put on some headphones and maybe go into that space. And so I thought that was good that she had that suggestion. And,
That's
it doesn't
awesome.
have to be like a dedicated yoga spot right in your house. I mean, I like wasn't thinking outside the box, and I'm like, yeah, I could do that. And I'm trying to, like, when I drive in the morning, I'm in silence now. I used to always have the radio on, and there's always just noise, noise, noise. So
Mhm.
now I'm just trying to be in quiet as much as possible, and I could add that too with some like meditative kind of music in my headphones. So
Yeah,
thank you, Janice.
that's very cool. Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for sharing, Joy. Did I hear a oh? Did somebody say something?
Oh, I just said you're welcome.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's fun, right? It's just looking at things and just becoming aware of the restrictions we put on ourselves, or that we said that the way we say, well, it's got to look like this, otherwise I'm not really doing it. And that's especially when it comes to like, for me, side note, like meditation and stuff like that. People think, well, you got to sit down and you got to be quiet and you can't think and all that. It's like, stop, just stop. Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. It's not even funny. So, I mean, yeah, it's helpful to do those things, but it's not required. In fact, for anybody that's just starting, I recommend not doing that. Actually, I just recommend doing some very simple things for a very short amount of time to build the habit of getting into it. And then you can kind of take it from there. But yeah. Cool. Anybody else, any final thoughts or comments about this little exercise that we did today? And like I said, I am going to be putting it, I do have the actual, all the questions tomorrow when I send out the recording. There's going to be a couple of attachments. That's going to be one of them. So you'll have the list. You can go through them if you want to go through them and look at them again if it's helpful. Ideally, what'll happen is you'll go through it, you'll do your score, and it'll kind of hopefully give you an idea of, like, on a scale of 1 to 100 where you're at. Again, I'm not going to say what any of the numbers mean. You can interpret those all you want. I was sitting there going like, well, what should the scale be? I don't know. It's going to be whatever you make it to be. How's that? And I will also say, like, look, any one of those, if it's knocking you on your butt, like Lynn mentioned an inner critic, if you've got a really strong inner critic, and it's something that's dominating everything that you're doing and everything that you're thinking, that one thing can really do some serious damage. So it's not like if you gave that one, yeah, I've got a strong inner critic, and you give it a 1, that thing could have a huge impact on you. Huge. So it's not exactly a perfect science, but my hope is it just kind of makes you go, I wonder where I'm at. So there's my attempt at doing that. Okay. So if there are no other comments or questions, then a couple of things. Let me, hold on. Where did you go? I meant to hit the share button. I did not hit the share button. All right, hold on, play from the current slide. Sorry. All right. So let's start talking about things, right? As we start to wrap up this adventure we've had over the last couple of weeks, right? Remember, the entire goal of this thing, of this course, was to help you get better at doing your goals. And I'm just going to talk about some of the basics as just a reminder, and I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done, which has been really fun because some of these things I've done while I've been going through this course, which has been awesome for me, and I've really, really enjoyed it. So the first thing I want to mention is my suggestion is to create yourself a binder, some type of a binder. And so I'm going to show you what mine looks like. And I used to have one that was in a little bit of a different format. And then I created one as I was going through this class, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to show you what mine looks like. I'm showing you that because this is not a full-size 3-ring binder. It's actually like a mini version. It's like a 5x7 version. I bought this at Staples or Office Max or whatever you want to call it. The reason I put that sticky note on there is so you could see from a size standpoint it's relatively small. And I mean, I know this isn't going to show this thing really well, but it's relatively small. So I took a picture of it just to show you that's what my binder looks like. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. The other thing I wanted to show you is like I got all these tabs, right? So I got new, and I keep those for about 30 days in there. And this is just how I do it. So new 1 to 12 months, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 10, and then greater than 10. And then remember, if you remember right, I got a breakdown of how I do those and how often I review those, right? And so this allows me to keep track of it that way. And so that's what this binder does, which is so great. I threw that in the beginning, in the front of mine, just so that I had it every single time I go to do one of these. I've got all my stuff right there. It's the first thing I look at when I open it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I just got to go through and do this, right? So that's what the front of mine looks like. I wanted to show you something that I did literally this morning. So I'm starting to work on my eyesight. I really want to be able to see 20/20 again. And so I quickly just jotted down some stuff about this one particular goal. The reason I love this is because now it's on one sheet of paper. I can go in here and I can review it, and then I can move it from the different time frames if I need to move it. And so I think that's extremely helpful. So again, I'm just giving you ideas. That's all I'm doing, is I'm sharing with you what mine look like. So what else can you do? So, I hope you consider getting a binder. I would suggest setting goals for all the areas in your life. And so the way that we do that when I coach and work with people, some of you are very familiar with this. Some of you may not have been exposed to this, but in coaching, it's called the wheel of life. And what is a wheel of life? That's a wheel of life. Okay. So, and I'm going to send you one so you can do it. And how do you do it? Well, it's really simple. You basically go through every area in your life, and on a scale of 1 to 10, you give yourself a grade. Like 1 or 0 means, yeah, that part of life's not going really great. And a 10 is, oh, it's fantastic. And then what you do is you kind of connect the dots. So the example in the upper right-hand corner is an example of what one may look like. So just looking at this one, it looks like whoever did this example, it looks like friends and family, they weren't doing so great in. That's probably their least good one. And then there's some other ones that are kind of low, like significant others, is a 5. And so that's what you do. So with the wheel of life, if you look at this one, it's a great example, because what it shows you is how out of balance this wheel of life is. And then you can go, all right, I probably want to be working in this particular area. And so that's what the wheel of life will allow you to do, is just bring attention, like the areas of your life that you may want to be focusing on. So it's a nice place to start. So you can have different goals in each one of these different areas. And by the way, this is not an extensive list of areas of your life. I've seen probably 30 different types of wheels of life, right? So I'm going to send you an example of this one. We'll also have the instructions on how to do it, so you can kind of go through it. So the wheel of life is a really great thing in terms of going, what can I start spending some time on? It'll give you the opportunity to be able to look at different areas, okay? What else do we have? So something else, and I can stop sharing here for a minute. Something else to think about is, like I said, is to consider maybe what you want to do is to get some additional support. And so a couple of things that I can suggest about that is, depending on what you need, I'm certainly available to have a conversation with you and at least support you to a certain level in terms of certain things that you might want to be looking at. Again, I mean, in all fairness, I do this for a living, but I mean, to have a conversation with somebody I'm not going to charge anybody. If you said, no, I really want to do a deep dive into this thing, well, then maybe we have a conversation about what that would look like from a coaching perspective, if that would make sense or not to you. but just general questions about this, that, or the other thing, or certainly anything in the course, do not hesitate to give me a call. I would really also suggest that you might want to consider going back through and watching some of the videos, because we did a lot of stuff in this course. And especially if you missed a class, we went through this course and it looked easy. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of information in this course, a ton of information in this course. And so you might want to consider going back and doing that. I would also say a couple of things. You know, there's a lot of things out there. There's books that are out there that are really good about this stuff. Depending on what you're struggling in or what area of this process, I might be able to suggest some books. I have suggested different books for you throughout the course of this class that I really like, that I lean on a lot going through this thing. But there's also other coaches. There's other, you know, I'm going to talk about this, and especially when it comes to working with limited beliefs and subconscious. There's a lot of different modalities. I showed you Unity's basic way of doing it. Okay. There are much faster ways of changing your limited beliefs, much faster. And so, for example, one of the techniques that I used, I've been trained in, is an energy system, a modality called Psych K. Some of you are familiar with that, some of you are not. It's a beautiful modality that I use with some of my clients. And you could, if you wanted to, you could potentially even learn it. My dear friend, Mary Mazer, is a Psych K facilitator that shows up in Grand Rapids about once a year. And you can go through the basic Psych K workshop, which is fantastic. And she's going to be doing that. Actually, in February, she's coming to Grand Rapids and it's going to be doing that. That's a 3-day workshop, I think. So that might be something for you to consider. But there's also other types of things that you can do in terms of doing and changing your belief system faster. I'm a big fan of tapping. So I don't know if those people that know about tapping, you know, when you're doing this kind of stuff, and you're going here, and you're going here, and you're going here, and you're going here, da, 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 da. So that's tapping. And that is fabulous. I love tapping. For those of you, I think I mentioned it when we talked about tapping briefly, then I'm a big fan of following Brad Yates. He's got a ton of YouTube videos out there and I just love him. I think he's fantastic. So there's a lot of different ways that you can work with the subconscious mind and change your belief system. And some of them are faster. And that's why I like them. Not that there's anything wrong with doing it the old-fashioned way. It's just I think there's more modern technology that can do it a lot faster. And so if I can do it faster, better, cleaner, stronger, then I'm all about it. So that's why I went in and learned how to do Psych K, and it's been a wonderful tool. I use it with some of my clients, but you can do the same thing. Tapping is fantastic, and listen, I don't know all the modalities. So all I know is a new one shows up every freaking month. I'm running into a different modality that can help you change your subconscious mind. There's a lot of them. There's not just one. There's a bunch of them. So knock your socks off. But I'm more than willing to have that conversation with anybody who's interested in doing that, or any other information or tools or techniques. We can certainly have that conversation. Other things, I'm seriously consider about doing a in-person workshop on this stuff in January. So stay tuned for that, but I would expect an announcement coming up sometime. I would really like to be able to do that, to spend a couple of days and really go through this, where we're in a workshop, we're rolling up our sleeves and we're really diving in. So that might be something for you to consider, and we will certainly let you know when that happens. I think in terms of that, you know, getting help or support if you need it. And again, these are the last couple of things as we begin to wrap things up for the course. One of the things I'm going to send you, and I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, is I want to get some feedback on what your experience was like in this class. And I want you to be honest. I don't want you to feel like you're going to hurt my feelings. You're not. But I really would appreciate your feedback. What do you like? What do you don't like? I'm going to put together a little questionnaire. But ultimately, all I'm asking is, how'd it go? What were the things that you liked? What were the things that you didn't like? and then go from there. So anything, any comments or anything would be fantastic and greatly appreciated. And then last but not least, and I am going to share my screen again, and that is, like I said at the very beginning of this course, is that I did say, and I kept my promise, that this course is being done on a love offering basis. So anything that you can do would be greatly appreciated. I will send this list out again in the email that I send, but you can do it 4 different ways. You can either do a check the old-fashioned way, you can do a PayPal, you can do a Cash App, or you can do Zelle. So I can do any one of them. I'm not going to tell you in terms of how much. There is no how much. It's like, hey, it's up to you. So it's whatever's in your heart, and that would be greatly appreciated. Whatever you can do, I would be grateful. It would be grateful. So there's the different ways that you can do that. That would be really, really cool to do that. And other than that, and like I said, I will send something in the email that I send out tomorrow that will have that. Other than that, just a couple of things. Don't forget that next Wednesday, we're going to be doing our get together. That is going to be 6 p.m. at the Cascade Roadhouse for those of you that can make it. I know some of you can't. That's okay. We still love you, and you will be missed. But we'll be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Cascade Roadhouse, which is right down the street from Unity. So it's right on Cascade Road. Other than that, I don't know what else. What else is there? Oh, yeah, our fundraiser. So, everything is, there's information about the fundraiser on our website. There's information being shared during our announcements on Sunday. We have a box of stuff that is at the front door. So for those that can bring in items, they can put them in the box. But we are full tilt on the fundraiser until I think it's the weekend after Thanksgiving is when the fundraiser will be going. So I've told everybody our goal is to, between donations of stuff and money, it would be great if we could raise $500. So there you go. We'll do our best to see what we can do. So hopefully we'll collect a few dollars for that particular charity and go from there. But again, that's going to continue on until the end of the month. And when it's done, I will let everybody know and shoot you some final numbers and some things on what happened. And other than that, in terms of just some things going on around Unity. So next year we're going to be doing more. This is one of our spirit groups. And this is how they work. Some of you have participated these in the past. They're really fun. We're going to have probably 2 or 3 more in January. I know that we've got somebody that wants to do Deepak Chopra's book about What About God, I think is the name of it, or something like that. So we have somebody that wants to do that book. I'm not sure what Susan Smith is going to want to do. She's always got a really good, healthy group. And I'll also say this because Joy has done this before. If something's really near and dear to your heart and you would really love to do something, a book, or you want to teach something or whatever, you can do a spirit group. It's really simple. You just get a hold of me and I'll make sure you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to, no, you're not doing that. But if there's a book that you just loved and you would love to share that with others, like I'm seriously considering doing that book on affirmative prayer because I just thought it was so powerful and so good. So I'm considering doing that, but I like to let other people do the spirit groups. I might do that at Unity itself outside of a spirit group. So we'll see how that goes. But there's all kinds of things. There's either stuff you can do online, depending on what you're hungry for. We at the center have got Course in Miracles groups. I'm going to be doing another Way of Mastery, which is a deep dive into the book called The Way of Mastery. That's going to be starting in January. That is going to be a year-long program. That's a huge commitment because the book itself is 35 chapters long. It is one of the most powerful things I've ever done. I think that book is just magical. And if it's up to me, we'll always be having a Way of Mastery group going. But there's going to be a new group starting in January. They're going to be starting at chapter 1, covering a chapter a week. And again, that book is 35 weeks, and there's always going to be breaks and everything else. If you're going to do it, just I would say plan on it lasting about a year. The way that we do that is we usually have a group meeting on Monday or Tuesday nights, depending on how many people sign up. There may be 2 groups. And then what we usually do is once a month, we get together as a big group, whether we do that in person or in Zoom. And in the meantime, we're just having the groups do one night, one chapter a week, and that's plenty. Believe me, that book is so rich and dynamic and wonderful. It's plenty, but it's an amazing journey. So that's going to be starting, and I'm sure there's going to be other things. So if you're really, like I said, hankering for something, give me a call and let me know, and we'll get on the phone and figure something out. And whether we're going to be doing it at the center or it's already being offered online and you may not be aware of it, or you want to teach it, all the above can apply. So other than that, I cannot possibly thank you enough. It has been just an honor to be and spend time with all of you. It's been really good for me. So I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to go through this with you. I hope you learned something. I hope that, you just realize how powerful you are, how amazing you are. And if we take a few of these metaphysical principles and just start applying them, that's what this is all about. To me, the nuts and bolts of what the Fillmores are talking about are really contained in this class. It's like taking everything that they knew and going out and doing something with it in your life and creating something that's magical and fun for yourself and for all those that are around you. I think that's when it gets to be really, really fun. And certainly, obviously, that's what I feel like I am doing, but I also feel like we as a community are doing it. And that's why I'm so passionate about making our community stronger and better and growing the community so that we can have more experiences like this. So you can step into your full power and go, wow, this is it. And then just being able to share that, I think, is just magical, to be able to have conversations, because for most of us, there's not a lot of people out there we can talk to this crazy stuff about. But some of us have got some pretty amazing people surrounding us. So other than that, I love you. I bless you. I thank you for everything. And I'm sure that we'll see you all again really, really soon. Cool.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. God bless. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. We'll
I
see
can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much. It's from Chicago. Lots of love.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night.